You know, in the last talk, which was largely biographical, we traveled with Columbus. We saw the areas he discovered. We learned about his trials and tribulations as he set in motion the Europeanization and the commerce within the Caribbean. Now, he only explored the Caribbean basin. Following him came the really deep impact on the Caribbean and Central America. It was done by Spain's conquistadors, the warriors. So we'll look at their military campaigns in Mexico and Peru, at the gold and silver they extracted and put on the huge galley ships, galleons, Spanish galleons. We'll think about the substitution of African labor for native Caribbean labor. We'll look at the raiding, the counter-raiding, and the warfare between England, Spain, France, and Holland here in this cockpit of spoils, the Caribbean. We'll think about the legacies. So that was a biographical talk, largely. We're following the most important explorer and navigator of that time period. I'm going to shift the gears now. And in this second talk, we're largely looking at the commercialization and the development of the Caribbean and Central America, as those areas were knitted together into the rest of the global trading system. Now, all development and modernization, as you know, involves costs. Ecological costs, environmental costs, political, economic costs, and human costs. And so we have to include in our analysis the most costly human endeavors of the development of the Caribbean, and that was the transportation across the Atlantic of 9 million African slaves over a period of 250 to 300 years. This is where they really generated their wealth, and it was Mexican silver and gold, and it was Peruvian silver. What that became was a kind of triangular trade here between slaves, rum, and manufactured goods in a global triangle that for about 200 years was the most important, by dollar volume, most important trade system in the world. The galleons flowed pretty much exiting Havana through the straits and across. The raiding, and this is Sir Francis Drake, was always a part of this as England, France, and Holland sought to destabilize the Spanish flow. And all of those capitals used privateers who were licensed pirates. But let's start with the conquistadors and where they were operating. Of course, here's the very edge of Central America, and it was Cortez that went into Mexico and destabilized and captured the Aztec Empire. Down here, my map isn't very good, but it was Pizarro who went all the way down into Peru, captured the Inca Empire, and began the exploitation of silver. These conquistadors were Spanish warriors. They were professional military personnel. They wore armor, they used European firearms, they rode horses. They were usually Spaniards, not always, because Spain was perfectly willing to take on European adventurers if they Hispanicized their names and, at least for purposes of the exploration, converted to Catholicism. Along with the conquistadors, of course, came Spanish friars, Jesuits, Franciscans,